My name is Alba and I'm 20 years old. I live on our planet we're destroying more and more day by day. Ecosystems are collapsing, biodiversity is disappearing, and oceans are acidifying. Earth as we know it today is being destroyed by its people. Humans are killing animal species, destroying our forests. Half of the world's rainforests have already been cleared by us humans. They've removed 90% of the large fish in the seas. The hotspots start to diminish, the oceans start to die. At the start of 2021, we will have just 10 years left for every nation on Earth to deliver on the promise it made to its people to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Even though the slowdown in economic activity due to the pandemic created a brief drop in global carbon emissions. But we cannot escape the reality of what is happening around the world, what we are doing to our planet. These past years have been recorded to be the warmest 3 years globally, with record-breaking wildfires, hurricanes, floods, and droughts around the world. Global poverty is one of the very worst problems that the world faces today. The poorest in the world are often hungry, have much less access to education, regularly no light at night, and suffer from much poor health. To make progress against poverty is therefore one of the most urgent global goals. We have seen a rise in hunger since COVID-19 all around the world, especially in the Democratic Republic of Congo. They surpassed Yemen this year as the world's worst hunger crisis. 1 in 3 Congolese, record high, are now hungry. But hunger isn't the only thing weighing down dangerous places to live. 2021 marks a decade civil war in Syria, as violence, displacement, and human needs continue to grow. And the US and Britain and France is helping the war by sending airstrikes over the country. Therefore, Syria is the deadliest country in the world for humans. As I speak, civilians are killed in Palestine. Israel are in full swing doing an ethnic cleansing and land theft. Israel has been stealing Palestinian land since the first catastrophe in 1964, cleansing Palestinian villages, forcing civilians out of their homes. And the US are giving billions of dollars of weapons to Israel, helping Israel to cleanse and steal Palestinian land, killing and injuring Palestinians. In fact, we are seeing more children escape their country on a global scale in 2021 than ever before in history. We are talking 30 to 34 millions of children. 10 years ago, 38 million people were driven from their homes, their country, because of war, persecution, and hunger. But right now, the number stands at over 65 millions. In the 1990s, around 1.5 million were able to return home, but that number has fallen to approximately 385,000 people. People are dying while governments spend millions on border control. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to stopping or slowing global warming, and each individual, business, municipal, state, tribal, and federal entity must weigh their options in light of their own unique set of circumstances. Change only happens when individuals take action. There is no way if it doesn't start with people. Experts say it is likely many strategies working together will be needed. Generally speaking, here are some examples of mitigation strategies we can use to slow or stop the human-caused global warming. Where possible, we can switch to renewable sources of energy, such as solar and wind energy, to power our homes and buildings, thus emitting far less heat-trapping gases into the atmosphere. Where feasible, we can drive electric vehicles instead of those that burn fossil fuels, or we can use mass transit instead of driving our own cars. Where affordable, we can conserve energy by better insulating our homes and buildings and by replacing old failing appliances with more energy-efficient models. Where practical, we can counterbalance our annual carbon dioxide emissions by investing in commercial services that draw down an equal amount of carbon out of the atmosphere, such as through planting trees or carbon capture and storage techniques. We can consider placing an upper limit on the amount of carbon dioxide we will allow ourselves to emit into the atmosphere within a given time frame. Another start would be opening up safe routes to sanctuary for refugees. That means allowing to reunite with their relatives and giving refugees visas so they don't have to spend their life savings and risk drowning to reach safety. World leaders also need to put saving lives first. No one should die crossing a border. and yet almost 7,000 people drowned in the Mediterranean alone in the 2 years since the first big shipwreck in October 2013. States can stop this by investing in search and rescue operations and immediately helping people in distress. And whether they travel by land or by sea, people fleeing persecution and war should be allowed to cross borders with or without travel documents. Governments need to stop blaming refugees and migrants for economic and social problems and instead fight all kinds of xenophobia and racial discrimination. To successfully combat poverty, it is necessary to claim the effective implementation and guarantee of human rights. The first link between human rights and poverty is the discrimination to which people living in poverty are subjected. This discrimination adds to the social marginality and fuels the vicious circle in which poor individuals will never stop being poor because they do not have the opportunities to escape this situation. Education is the best weapon against poverty and hunger. It is especially powerful in undeveloped countries. Education means better opportunity and more access to income and food. Additionally, some countries have food for education programs where students are given free food for coming to school. This may seem like a basic idea in the United States, but it is life-saving in many underdeveloped nations. The plan to stop what is happening in Palestine must also include a sustainable political deal that includes all three main parties: Israel, the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas. As part of this, Hamas must commit to a long-term ceasefire and gradual, through probably imperfect, demilitarization. Israel must agree to significantly ease the blockade on Gaza as part of the ceasefire, and the Palestinian Authority must agree to slowly resume control over elements of governance in Gaza, even while Hamas retains some weapons. Further, Hamas would receive a role in future Palestinian decision-making, but only through accepting the supremacy of the Palestine Liberation Organization. And, finally, Israel will need to take significant positive steps in the West Bank to strengthen the footprint of the PA's control to signal that this deal is wider than just Gaza, incentivizing the PA's participation and providing the foundation for a long-term solution for the Palestinian-Israel war. We've got enough problems to solve, so what are we waiting for?